Morning, Rabbi. So I just want to welcome to the share. We have live in person a good friend of mine, very good friend of mine, Yehuda Kern, all the way from Chicago. He joined us in the share today. Baruch Hashem. We were in yeshiva together, so he could definitely confirm whatever it says in the Ami magazine, or maybe not, whatever. Our Kaponim Rabbi side, today we're going to continue what we started at the beginning of the week, which was the sugya of Issa v'Heta, Basa v'Chalav. We started last time, I think it was Sunday. When was it last time? I think it was Sunday, right? We did the sugya of Issa v'Heta, Basa v'Chalav of Kashrus, which is very, very important. Come join us, have a seat, please. So, Lemaisa like this. We gave Sunday a little bit of a hakdoma, a little bit of an introduction to why is it that it is so important to make sure that what goes into your mouth is kosher, and the effect that it can have, as the chinuch we mentioned, it can have such a tremendous effect on a person, the food that he eats, and how important it is to make sure that that which he eats is kosher, and of course has no shaylas of basa v'cholos and treifas and everything else. So today, Be'ez Hashem, we're going to go into the next introduction, is to understand the isurim of basa v'cholov, and then in Mitzvah Hashem on Sunday, we'll try to go through practical cases, halacha l'maisa, going through some of the situations that arise in a regular kosher kitchen, and how to avoid some of the problems that may come up. So, the first thing we have to mention is like this. Torah tells us 3 times, Shulchan Aruch brings it in Yeridei Simei Pei Zayin Sifalev, that tells us, Lo yisavash shagdi b'chalei v'imoy, right? Gimel Pa'amim. 3 times the Torah says, do not cook a kid in its mother's milk. Why does it say it 3 times? What is the necessity for the Torah to repeat 3 times the Issa of Basa v'Chalav? So the Shulchan Aruch Paskins, the Gemara in Chunan, of course, Shulchan Aruch Paskins, the reason why the Torah tells us 3 times is to tell us there are 3 separate Isurim, and we're going to discuss them today. That's going to be today's share. The Issa number 1 is Bishul. That means the etzem cooking of Basa v'Chalav, even if you're not going to eat it, is going to be asa. We will discuss. Number 2, there's the Issa v'Achila, even if you didn't cook it. But it has to have been cooked, which we'll get to. And number 3, the Issa of Hana, benefit, which is also a major nafkamina la halacha l'maisa. We will see. Now we're going to go through these 3 Isurim one by one and try to explain them. Again, 3 Isurim, 3 times the Torah is lo yisavash shagdi b'chalei v'imoy, that tells us don't do basa v'chalav 3 times, specifically the Issa Achila, the Issa Hana, and the Issa of Bishul. That is the thing. Number 2, the Issa da'oraisa of basa v'chalav has to be with meat, basa. It has to be with meat and milk. If you're using, for example, oif, chicken, that will be an issa d'Rabbanan. You're going to ask me, my nafkamina, if it's a d'oraisa d'Rabbanan, the d'Rabbanan fire is also hot. Very good, Bech. So the answer is what? The answer is there's a major nafkamina legabe what?
Ouch. Legabe the fire.
What? Legabe issa what? You say better. No, what? What's that? Yeah, but for what? What's the nafkamina? Zukbub matcha for hana. Avada. There's going to be a major nafkamina for hana. Moyudi. Baruch Hashem. Okay, let's understand the reasons why it's asa. Now, we don't really know why it's asa. We don't really, it's a chayk be'etzem, this week's parasha, so it's really a chayk we don't understand, but l'maisa we have various different explanations. Number 1 is we have the chinuch. The chinuch explains what is the pshat, as he normally does, the taimei ha-mitzvah, the taste of the mitzvah. It's not the mitzvah itself, it's the taste of it, right? So the chinuch says that avad it's a chayk, however, it's like shatnus, it's like kilayim. There are certain things that the Rebbeinu Shalom just does not want us to mix. And one of them is basa and chalav. As I state in the chinuch. The Rambam, Kedauke HaKodesh, writes many, as he does for many Yisurim, he writes that the Issa over here is Avodah Zorah. They used to do Avodah Zorah through Basa v'Chalav. Mimela, separate yourself from Basa v'Chalav, and this way you don't have the shaykhas to Avodah Zorah. They have an Ezra on the parasha says it's cruelty. Poshet Achzorius, it's cruelty to cook Basa v'Chalav. What's the cruelty? So he says it's like cooking, it's like shachting a mother and a baby in the same day, which is an issa. You're not allowed to do that. And therefore that's a cruelty thing to cook a baby in its own mother's milk. It's poshet cruelty. Rabbeinu, what's that? Doesn't make a difference. It's all included. Because once they were goes on everything. Rabbeinu Bachya says exactly like this. He explains that the idea is that milk comes be'ikah from blood. right? That's where it comes from, right? And milk comes from blood, and therefore says Rabbeinu Bechaya, if you cook meat into milk, the milk turns back into its original state, which was blood, which obviously is an issa of having blood. Now, the Zohar Kodesh, we just came back from the Heiliger Reb Shimon, the Zohar Kodesh brings down, again, we're not going to go into it, but he explains that meat is din and milk is rachamim. The Mela, we don't mix din v'rachamim, okay? Now, let's explain, Rabbi said, the three things that we spoke about before. Try to understand where the Issa is. We said that one of the Isurim of Basa B'cholav is what, Yidla? Bishul. That means to cook. That means the etzem cooking Basa B'cholav is going to be Asa. Even if you're not eating it. A guy calls me out one time. He says to me, he wants to work in McDonald's. He wants to work in McDonald's. Right? What do you do? Is he allowed to work in McDonald's? We'll talk about the Hanal soon. But Legabi the Bishul. Right? Is that called Bishul Basa V'cholav? Now, by the way, there's a ganze lomdus to McDonald's. People have spent millions of dollars on researching how things can be, done in a certain way. The colors, right? The red and the yellow. You guys didn't notice, but the colors of the red and the yellow have been researched to be colors that attract the eye. You guys don't know this, but the benches that they have in McDonald's when you sit in the restaurant, which again you don't know, is very slightly tilted upwards, so it's not that comfortable. Why'd they do that? They do that specifically because they don't want you to stick around too long. It's a fast food chain. So Mamela, if you stick around too long, they're going to have people sticking in chairs. They don't want that. So they make it a little bit uncomfortable. You don't chop it. And this way. Now, we've all seen the pictures with the cheese drizzling down over there. It's all garbage because when you go in the restaurant, you don't see any of that. But the point is, there's a lomdus to how that works. Is working in McDonald's considered to be bishul basa b'cholav? Is it bishul? I have a hot burger and I put a piece of cheese on it. It's not really called bishul, right? What's the biggest thing? The Torah tells us, the Shulchan Aruch explains it very clearly. Derech bishul osra Torah. That means the Torah asad bishul in the normal way. That's the issa d'oraisa. If it's the non-normal way, that will not be a d'oraisa. I'll give you an example, Rabbi Isai. I'm asking the owner a personal favor. Please do not shout out anything of what I'm about to say, even though you may have a major taiva to shout something out. I received a letter from a certain place in Eretz Yisrael, which will not be named or said loud, okay? Certain place in Eretz Yisrael, the Olam Mishtamah know what it is. And the guy sends me a letter as follows. This is the letter, still have the letter. He says to me, I have a big problem. Because Shabbos Kodesh Avad, we eat fleischik, as that's what we do. Shalashidus, especially now in the summer, it's late, we eat milchik. So I take the tablecloth from Friday night, and I take the tablecloth from Shalashidus. This has got meat, and this has got milk, and I put it in the washing machine, and I want to know, am I over on Bishul Basa V'cholav if I'm going to be pressing the washing machine with hot water inside, and the tablecloths are going to be cooked in there. We don't have to say where this letter came from in Eretz Yisrael, but we all know. Now, Al Kaponim, the bells are dying with Shammai Gross, and Shevet HaKahasi Chelik Zayin brings a shaila. What happens if a person goes to Hafgana? Whether you should or should not, I don't know. I'm not getting involved. This is not a haskama that you do or do not. But those people that like the garbage cans on fire, so they want to know, are you over on bishul basa v'cholav if you have in the garbage can a bissel of fleish and a bissel of cheese and you light it on fire and you're over on basa v'cholav in that case? Rabbi say, these are serious shailas. But the Maisa the Shulchan Aruch brings derech bishul osra Torah. The Torah only asks the derech of bishul. Whatever's normal to cook. It's not a normal thing, in my opinion, I think, to cook basa v'cholav in a washing machine or in a garbage can. And therefore, that will not be included in that case. Another example, by the way, is we very rarely find that the Heiliger Chofetz Chaim, Schos and Yugen Alayni, talks about basa v'cholav. Very rarely. He writes on Orach Chaim. It took him 25 years to write the Chalakim that he did on Mishnah Berurah just on Orach Chaim. Can you imagine if he would have done Yeridei, Evan Ezer, Choshen Mishpat, it would be Modit for Klal Yisrael. He didn't get there, right? So we had Orach Chaim. A few times we find that he, sticks in Yonim of Yeridei. We spoke about it once by Peis Arosh, if you remember. Where does he discuss? This is a great quiz question. Where does the Mishnah Berurah discuss? Hilchas basa v'cholav. Valdik. The Olam knows about that, right? The Be'alocha So Simon Shin Zayin, where he says over there that if you have a Mira La'akum, that it's also to tell a goy to cook basa v'cholav. Why? Because Amir La'akim tells us that you're not allowed to tell a goy something that you can't do, just like on Shabbos Kodesh. You can't tell a goy to do something that you can't do. Memela, you can't tell a goy on Wednesday to cook basa v'cholav, even if for himself. right? Because at the end of the day, it's not for me, but the Isser is telling someone to cook. Amir al-Akam is included as Pascal Mishabura. Now, by the way, the Shabina Rav, in Dover Misharim Chede Gimel Simon Lamed, has the Shaila about the following case, that they had a certain chocolate, and this chocolate had a chashash basar v'cholav inside the chocolate. They had no way of investigating if it taka had basar v'cholav inside it. The only way was to actually cook it up. When you cook it up, it separates, and that's the way to chap it. It's got basar v'cholav. So the shaila was: is it mutter or asa to cook it if it's not amanas to eat it? The Shabina Rav brings a Kesef Mishnah, where the Kesef Mishnah says if it's not amanas, he brings different eterim, whatever. But it's an interesting shaila in that case. Derech Bishul, by the way, what about a microwave? Right? Somebody sent me an email from a university somewhere in America. I don't even remember where. One of these far-flung places over there, and he says that he goes to the cafeteria. And his Goyish roommate says to him, do me a favor, here's my sandwich, throw it into the microwave. Is he allowed to do that? Maybe his sandwich, the Goyish guy, has a sandwich with salami and butter. You're putting it into the microwave for him. You are cooking basar v'cholav. But it's a microwave. What's the din of a microwave? So Shlomo Zalman famously said that a microwave is a d'Rabbanan, because there's no eish. There's no fire inside of it there. Rav Moshe writes in Tshuva, it was a Novi. Rav Moshe was a Novi. Rav Moshe wrote that even though nowadays, when he wrote the Tshuva, nobody uses a microwave to cook, but the time will come that people will use a microwave to cook, as the many of them do ad hayoyim hazeh. So according to Rav Moshe and Rav Elyashiv and others, a microwave is an issa d'oraisa. So if you have a suffix, then there's a mokim to be machmed toli and Rabbi Kiva Eiga and the what?
No one uses it for cooking.
Sure they do it. No. They use it to make eggs. They use it to cook oats. Avada they do. Avada they do. Sure, the meal mart. Oh, no, some meal mart in Egypt. Meal mart in Egypt. Beautiful. Geweldig. What?
With the movie sandwich, right? You're not cooking it, you're heating it up.
No, but it could be sizzling the butter and the salami together.
Even though they're already cooked.
Yeah, even if it's already cooked. Ein bishul achar bishul has it worked by Yeridea. Shintazayin the Taz. Okay, we're going to spend too much time on this. Listen to this, Shaila. Somebody calls me up. He's at an event with his business. It's a Goyish business with a bunch of non-Jews over there, and they're making a barbecue. And they did it Santazach. They took the meat and they put cheese or butter, whatever it was, on the barbecue while it was on. So you've got the meat there sizzling with the cheese on top of it. And he says like this, said they're all busy over there. I'm watching the barbecue, it's getting burnt. Can I flip the burger? Am I allowed to flip it, or is that considered to be, I'm cooking basar v'cholav in that case, right? So again, that's really considered to be a shaila. Is that called bishul, or is that called tzli, roasting, right? The similar shaila when it comes to deep frying or shallow frying. Is that called bishul? Is it called afiyah or tzli, which the Piskei Tshuva famously in Yeridei Simon Pezayin brings down whether or not a person has an issa d'oraisa when it comes to these things. We're not going to have time to go through all the inyanim. I just want to open up the sugya for the oilam. Achila means, right, this is the second part of the Issa, that it's only osa to eat basar v'cholav midoraisa if it was actually cooked together. Which means midurabanon. Let's go like this. Midoraisa, I can have a piece of salami and a piece of cheese cold and eat them together. Midoraisa. Midurabanon avadanot. That's a davar poshet. The third Issa is the Issa of hana. That means a person is not allowed to have hana if you had basar, meat, and milk cooked together in the normal way, then hana would be asa. For example, you guys think like this is not negayed to us. Who cooks basar and cholov? So I'll just give you a simple example. Let's say a person is heating up a little bowl of milk. He's heating up a bowl of milk and he sticks in a fleischiger spoon. Now this fleischiger spoon was used 3 hours ago, 23 hours ago. As long as it's within 24 hours, it's considered to be a ben yomo, right? So if that's the case, and you don't have 60 kenegdoi, Shulchan Aruch in the beginning of the Simon Tzadi Daled in Yeridei tells us that the halacha is that's an issa d'oraisa. That's an issa d'oraisa. A fellow calls me up from his dira and the me, and he says to me, "Remember, I'm making this most amazing egg," and he starts explaining the egg with the mushrooms and the onions, the way it's fried. I was like, "Why are you calling me? What do you want?" He says, "You can't imagine, this is a gefela chazach. I realized that I'm using a milchik pan." I said, "What's the problem? It's an egg, ma baya." He said, "No, you don't understand. This is a dira, right? So we're putting flesh in the egg over here. What's the halacha in this case? Am I allowed to use, who does such a thing? It's a dira, no, it's like Kashrus. Al Kaponim. If the pan would be it would be a ben yoimai, then that would be basar v'cholav d'oraisa, which means you can't have hana. Anytime basar and cholav will cook together, the hana would be asa. So, for example, giving it to your cleaner, are you allowed to take the egg and give it to the cleaner? Right? Lo yisachonem. So everyone's busy with Leisachonim. What's that? What is that? Leisachonim, nu Rabbi Isai, giving presents to goyim. Avadu it's motor because there's a ta'elis. We spoke about it once in Sheh. But you can't have hana from it, right? The Taz in Yeridei Simon Tzadi Daled tells us a motor chiddush. Says the Taz, you're not allowed to give it even to an animal that's not your own. Because you get a hana. I'll bring you a raya. I don't know if you guys have ever been to the zoo before, but I've taken my kids to the zoo before. It's moedik, a perfect cholamoid outing. You go to the zoo, it's moedik, it's kavaldik, and then you got the monkeys. What is the greatest part of feeding the monkeys? You feed the monkeys, right? I state mafurish, said to feed the monkeys. I said geschmack. It's not my monkey. I'm not saving any money, but the mice I get a geschmack from it, right? So the Taz in Tzadi Dalet says that you're not even allowed to have hana by giving it to a stray animal. Listen to this. I was once, as I did many times, Baruch Hashem, I was zeicha to walk with Moshe Sternberg Shlita home from his shul to his home many times. We discussed many different shilas. One of the shilas I discussed with him was this particular shaila. Well, I'll tell you some more shilas we discussed at a different time, but one of the shilas I discussed was this shaila. And I asked the following shaila, and I said, are you allowed in Eretz Yisrael to take basar v'chalav? Let's say by mistake you made noodles and cheese and you didn't chop it was in a fleischige pan, right? What's the din of taking it and putting it in the garbage can? So he said to me, what's the shaila? So I said, what do you mean? In Eretz Yisrael, the cats are going to go and get the garbage can. They're going to go jump right in there, and you're feeding an animal that's a stray animal. That's hana. You're not allowed. So he looks at me, and then he pushes me, like, this is a Meister Shoyboy. He pushes me, and he says, I wish you better hanas than that in the world. Okay? So that was that. Al Kapanim, that was the sugya when it came to that. A Mordecai Shai, a guy calls me up, he wants to work in a restaurant in Tel Aviv. No, I'm sorry, he was working in a restaurant in Tel Aviv, right? There's daragas of shailas, you know. You have the people that go to Elat, that's fine, that's no problem. But then they have a shaila on the kettle in the hotel room. I don't know if I'm allowed to use it because it's minyonim didn't bother you, pritza, zachan, all these things, that's fine. Oh, but the kettle in your room, that's what bothers you, right? It's like with Shaimek with the spoon, right? With Shaimek always with the spoon. I told the oilam what Shaimek said with the spoon, right? People busy with a spoon. Is it ben yoimai? Is it ain't ben yoimai? 20 minutes to handling the spoon. Bittul Torah says, I'll buy you a new spoon. But when you have a shayla of chinuch bonim, you have a shayla of when you move at the chutzah, this you decide on your own. This I can decide on my own. Oh, but the spoon, that's worth 20 agarot. Oh, I'm going to spend 20 minutes clearing the shayla. Anyway, this guy calls me up. He's working in Tel Aviv in a restaurant, and I might say he wants to know that he's got a big shayla. Because every restaurant has specials. Specials mean they have something interesting for, you know, today's menu, whatever. So today's menu, he said to me, was basar para muvushal b'chalav. That's what it was. Mamish, you know, Makayim the Posik Mahadrin Mina Mahadrin. So his shaila is he allowed to work in such a restaurant? Is that called hana by serving the food, right? I don't know, if it would be KFC, it would be Momekel, right? Versteht sich, right? KFC will make because it's chicken. Mashenken, if it's meat, if it's fleish, that's already a whole different shaila in that case over there. Smelling basar v'chalav, by the way, not poshut, right? I'm so sorry, right? You look in Simon Cook base, where it talks about the reach and everything. It's very clear that smelling os issa is a problem. It's a bit. We mentioned the Maisa one time. No, I was walking with the kids. If I remember, we talked about it once by Pesach. I think I was walking with the kids down by the Koisel, down the old city over there. And you have those, you know, the Arabs. They bake this long, you know, I don't know what it is called. It's probably got a what's it called? No, the round, the long, what's it? Whatever it is. But kids, they were making chometz, okay? And the guy comes out, the Arab comes out, and he says, smell! My kids look at him and say, chometz, guy! Anyway, and they walk on. But Kabbanim, smelling basar v'chalav is a problem for a person that dafka smell it on Shabbos during the week. Is going to be a problem in that case. So boys say we have a lot more to do. We're not going to have time. But that's the Hagdama to understand the 3 Yisurim when it comes to basar v'chalav is Issa Achila, Issa Hana, Issa Bishul. Mitzvah Shem on Sunday, we're going to try to go through the practical halacha lemaisa and how it applies to Shavuos, because that's what we're doing after all. Have a great day.